Mia stared at the rusted 1967 Camaro sitting in her late grandfather's garage, its faded blue paint peeling like old wallpaper and its chrome bumper hanging at an odd angle. The car looked like it had been through a war and lost badly. Her cousin Jake leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, wearing that familiar smirk that had annoyed her since childhood. "Congratulations, cuz. Grandpa Ray left you his pride and joy," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Hope you've got a few thousand lying around for the scrapyard. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you." The reading of the will had been straightforward enough. Grandfather Raymond had distributed his modest estate evenly among the family, with one notable exception. The car, specifically mentioned in a handwritten addendum, went solely to Mia. She remembered him always tinkering with it in the garage during her childhood visits, muttering about getting her running again someday. That someday had apparently never come. "I don't understand why he left me this thing," Mia said, running her finger along the dusty hood. A small chunk of rust flaked off at her touch. "He knew I drive a Prius. I don't even know how to change oil." Jake chuckled. "Maybe he figured you needed a hobby. Or maybe he just wanted to stick someone with the disposal costs. This thing's been dead in the water for 20 years. Engines seized, transmissions shot. And look at that interior." He pointed through the cracked windshield at the torn vinyl seats and missing dashboard pieces. Mia's Aunt Carol appeared in the garage doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Your grandfather always said that car was special, honey. Maybe not in the way you'd expect, but special nonetheless." She gave Jake a pointed look. Some things aren't always what they appear to be. After the family gathering dispersed, Mia found herself alone with the Camaro. She opened the driver's side door, which creaked loudly in protest. The interior smelled of old leather and motor oil, with an underlying sweetness she couldn't identify. On the passenger seat lay a manila envelope with her name written in her grandfather's careful handwriting. Inside, she found the car's title, some old insurance papers, and a receipt from a restoration shop in Phoenix dated 15 years ago. The amount made her blink twice. $12,000 for comprehensive restoration work. $12,000 for this rust bucket. Something didn't add up. That evening, Mia sat in her apartment scrolling through her phone, the envelope's contents spread across her coffee table. On impulse, she Googled 1967 Camaro value and found herself tumbling down a rabbit hole of classic car websites. The numbers she saw made her heart race. Even in poor condition, a quote 67 Camaro could be worth $15,000 to $20,000. In good condition, the values jumped to $50,000 and beyond. For rare models or special editions, the sky seemed to be the limit. She dug deeper, cross-referencing the VIN number from the title with online databases. What she found made her hands shake slightly. The car wasn't just any 1967 Camaro. According to the records, it was a Z/28, a high-performance model that Chevrolet had produced in limited numbers. Even more intriguing, the database listed it as one of only 602 cars produced in that specific color combination, marina blue with white racing stripes. Mia called her grandfather's old neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, who had lived next door for 40 years. "Oh yes, dear, that car was Raymond's baby. He worked on it every weekend for years. Such a beautiful machine when he first brought it home. This was back in the 80s, I think. Cost him a fortune even then. Do you remember what it looked like when it was running?" Mrs. Henderson's voice warmed with the memory. "Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Bright blue with white stripes down the middle. Raymond would take it to car shows sometimes. Won a few trophies too, if I recall correctly." After hanging up, Mia stared at the research spread before her. Either her grandfather had owned a potentially valuable classic car that he'd let deteriorate into apparent worthlessness, or there was something she wasn't seeing. The restoration receipt nagged at her. Why spend $12,000 on a car and then let it rot in a garage? The next morning, she drove back to her grandfather's house. Jake's truck was already in the driveway. She found him in the garage, photographing the Camaro with his phone. "What are you doing?" he startled, nearly dropping his phone. "Just documenting the condition for insurance purposes. You know, in case you decide to donate it for the tax write-off." Since when do you handle my insurance? Jake's face flushed slightly. I'm just trying to help, Mia. This thing's going to cost you money every day it sits here. Storage fees, insurance, eventual disposal costs. I know a guy who'll take it off your hands for $500. Cash. $500. For a car that might be worth tens of thousands. Mia felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning air. I think I'll hold on to it for now. Don't be stupid, cuz it's a money pit. Grandpa Ray wasted half his retirement on this piece of junk. Then why are you so eager to help me get rid of it? Jake's expression hardened. Fine, keep it, but don't come crying to me when you're broke from trying to fix it. He pushed past her, heading for his truck. After he left, Mia spent an hour examining the car more carefully. The rust, she noticed, seemed surface level in most places. The body panels underneath appeared solid. The engine bay, while dirty, didn't show the kind of damage she'd expect from a truly seized motor. Most telling of all, when she looked closely at the paint, she could see traces of the original Marina blue peeking through the deliberately applied patches of primer and rust-colored paint. Someone had made this car look worse than it actually was. The question was why. Mia pulled out her phone and called Barrett-Jackson, the famous auction house she'd seen on television. After being transferred twice, she reached someone in their appraisal department. I've inherited a 1967 Camaro Z/28, she began, and I'm trying to understand its potential value. The appraiser, a woman named Sarah, was immediately interested. Z/28s are definitely collectible. Can you tell me about its condition and any documentation you have? Mia described what she saw, mentioned the VIN numbers and the restoration receipt. Sarah asked several detailed questions about matching numbers, original components, and the car's history. Based on what you're telling me, Ms. Torres, this could be quite valuable. The Z/28 package is highly sought after, especially in that color combination. If the numbers match and it's as original as it sounds, we'd definitely be interested in taking a look. Would you be open to having one of our specialists examine it? How valuable are we talking? For a numbers-matching Z/28 in restored condition, anywhere from $60,000 to $120,000, depending on the specifics. Rare color combinations can push that higher. Mia nearly dropped the phone. $120,000? Possibly more. These cars have been appreciating rapidly. I have to ask, though, why does your description make it sound like it's in poor condition? Has it been in an accident or suffered damage? Mia looked at the carefully disguised classic car sitting in front of her. I'm beginning to think that's exactly what someone wanted people to believe. 3 days later, Barrett-Jackson's appraiser, David Chen, arrived in a white company van equipped with every diagnostic tool imaginable. Mia had been expecting someone older, more grizzled, but David looked like he was barely 30, with precise movements and the kind of intense focus she associated with surgeons. He spent the first 20 minutes just walking around the car, taking photos from every conceivable angle. Interesting, he murmured, crouching near the rear quarter panel. Very interesting indeed. What do you see? David pointed to what looked like a rust. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Spot near the wheel well. This isn't rust. It's paint. Someone applied a rust-textured coating over the original finish. He pulled out a small scraping tool and gently removed a tiny section. Underneath, the original Marina blue gleamed like a sapphire. Someone went to considerable trouble to make this car look worthless. As David continued his examination, Mia noticed Jake's truck driving slowly past the house for the third time in an hour. She stepped outside and flagged him down. You lost, cousin? Jake rolled down his window, trying to look casual. Just thought I'd check on you. That van in the driveway, someone trying to buy the car? Just getting it appraised. His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Appraised? Mia, you're wasting money. I told you I'd take it off your hands. For $500. Fine, $700. But that's my final offer. David emerged from the garage, pulling off work gloves. His expression was unreadable. Miss Torres, could we speak privately? Jake lingered, clearly wanting to hear the conversation, but Mia gestured toward the house. Of course. Jake, I'll catch up with you later. Inside, David set down his tablet and looked directly at her. That car is worth a fortune. And I mean a genuine fortune. How much are we talking about? The VIN matches a car that was originally sold to a collector in California, numbers matching 1967 Z/28 with the high-performance 302 engine, 4-speed manual transmission, and the rare Rally Sport package. In its current disguised state, most people would offer you scrap value. Properly restored and authenticated, it's easily worth $250,000. Maybe more. Mia sank into her grandfather's old recliner. $250,000. The restoration work that was done 15 years ago was exceptional. Whoever did it replaced every worn component with period-correct parts, rebuilt the engine and transmission to factory specifications, and then deliberately made it look like junk. The craftsmanship underneath the disguise is museum quality. But why would someone do that? David had encountered similar situations before. Usually tax reasons, insurance fraud, or hiding assets during divorce proceedings. Sometimes it's to keep valuable cars safe from theft. A car that looks worthless doesn't get stolen. My grandfather wouldn't have committed fraud. Maybe not, but someone had a compelling reason to hide this car's true value. After David left with promises to send a formal appraisal report, Mia called her Aunt Carol. I need to ask you something about Grandpa Ray and the Camaro. Carol's voice became cautious. What kind of something? Did you know it was valuable? Really valuable? A long pause. Honey, there are things about your grandfather's finances that were complicated. Maybe we should talk in person. They met at a coffee shop downtown, away from family ears. Carol looked tired, older than her 65 years. Your grandfather made some mistakes with money early in his retirement. Bad investments, a few get-rich-quick schemes that didn't pan out. He owed people money. What kind of people? The kind you don't want to owe money to. Raymond was desperate. He'd already sold his boat, cashed in his life insurance, even borrowed against the house. The car was his last valuable asset. So he hid its value. More than that, he faked its destruction. Filed an insurance claim saying the engine had been ruined by flooding. Collected $25,000 and used that money to pay off his debts. But he never actually destroyed the car. He had it disguised instead. Mia felt dizzy. He committed insurance fraud. He was protecting his family. Those men he owed money to, they weren't just going to write off the debt. They were threatening to come after all of us. Does Jake know about this? Carol's expression darkened. Jake's the one who told them about the car in the first place. The revelation hit Mia like a physical blow. What? Your cousin's had his own money troubles for years. Gambling debts mostly. When these men started pressuring Raymond for payment, Jake offered them information about family assets in exchange for reducing his own debts. He told them about the Camaro, its value, everything. So when Grandpa left it to me, Jake thought he could get his hands on it. Probably figured he'd convince you to sell it cheap, then flip it to his contacts for the real money. Mia's phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Hey, been thinking about the car. My guy can do $1,200 cash today if you're interested. Let me know soon. $1,200 for a $250,000 car. She showed the message to Carol, who shook her head sadly. He's getting desperate. Those people Jake owes money to, they're not patient. If he doesn't come up with something substantial soon, what happens? People get hurt. That evening, Mia drove back to her grandfather's house to think. The garage felt different now that she knew the truth. Every tool on the workbench, every oil stain on the concrete, told the story of a man trying to protect his family while carrying crushing guilt about his deception. She found a notebook tucked behind a shelf of motor oil cans. Her grandfather's handwriting filled page after page, with maintenance records, restoration notes, and something else that made her throat tighten. Letters he'd written but never sent, explaining his actions to various family members. To my granddaughter Mia, one began, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and you've discovered the truth about the Camaro. I want you to know that everything I did was to protect the people I love. The insurance money kept dangerous men away from our family, but I could never bring myself to actually destroy something so beautiful. I hope someday you'll understand." Another letter was addressed to Jake, filled with disappointment and warnings about the path he was choosing. "The debts you're creating will destroy more than just your own life," her grandfather had written. "I won't let you drag the rest of the family down with you." Mia was so absorbed in reading that she didn't hear the garage door until it was too late. Jake stood in the entrance, his face flushed with anger and desperation. "You couldn't just sell it, could you?" he said. "Had to go and get it appraised. Had to dig into things that weren't your business. Jake, we need to talk about this rationally." "Rationally?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You have no idea what you've done. Those people I owe money to, they know about the car now. They know what it's really worth. And they're coming to collect. Then we go to the police. The police can't help with this. These aren't the kind of people who worry about law enforcement." Jake pulled out his phone, showing her a series of threatening text messages. "They want their money by tomorrow night, or they start taking it out on family members. Starting with you." Mia's blood went cold. "You told them about me. I had to give them something. Look, just sell me the car. I'll get you fair value, I promise. 20,000 cash. It's worth more than 10 times that." Jake's composure cracked completely. "I don't care what it's worth. These people will kill me, Mia. Actually kill me. And if I can't pay, they'll go after anyone connected to me. That includes you, Aunt Carol. Everyone. There has to be another way." "There is. You give me the car, I sell it to them for enough to clear my debt and disappear. Everyone stays alive." Mia looked at her cousin, really looked at him, the man who taught her to ride a bike, who'd been her partner in countless childhood adventures, who'd stood beside her at their grandfather's funeral just 3 weeks ago. Now he was asking her to hand over a $250,000 inheritance to save him from consequences of his own making. "I need time to think." "There is no time. They want an answer tonight. Then you're going to have to wait." Mia headed for her car, clutching the notebook containing her grandfather's letters. "Mia, don't do anything stupid. These people don't negotiate." As she drove away, she could see Jake in her rearview mirror, phone pressed to his ear, gesticulating wildly. Whatever conversation he was having, it didn't look pleasant. Back in her apartment, Mia spread everything out on her dining table. The appraisal notes, her grandfather's letters, the threatening messages Jake had shown her, and the Barrett-Jackson contact information. She had a car worth $250,000, a cousin who owed money to dangerous people, and less than 24 hours to figure out how to keep everyone alive while preserving her inheritance. The solution, when it came to her, was so obvious she wondered why she hadn't thought of it immediately. She picked up her phone and dialed David Chen's number. David Chen answered on the second ring, his voice alert despite the late hour. "Miss Torres? Is everything all right? I need to ask you something confidential. When Barrett-Jackson handles high-value vehicles, do you ever work with law enforcement?" A pause. "That's an interesting question. May I ask why?" Mia explained the situation with Jake, the threats, and the dangerous people demanding payment. David listened without interruption, occasionally making quiet notes. "This is more serious than I initially thought," he said when she finished. "You're describing what sounds like a sophisticated money laundering operation. These groups often use classic cars to move and hide assets because the values are subjective and the market is less regulated than traditional investments." "What do you mean?" "They buy cars at auctions, hold them for a few years while the values appreciate, then sell them at different auctions. On paper, it looks like legitimate investment activity. In reality, they're cleaning drug money, extortion payments, and other illegal proceeds." David explained that Barrett-Jackson had worked with the FBI's art crime team on several cases involving stolen or fraudulently obtained vehicles. "If these people are as dangerous as your cousin suggests, you need federal protection, not just local police. Can you help me contact them? I can do better than that. Our company maintains relationships with Special Agent Rebecca Martinez from the art crime team. She specializes in cases exactly like this. But Mia, if we involve the FBI, there's no going back. Your cousin will likely face serious charges, and you'll be in protective custody until they can arrest everyone involved." Mia thought about Jake's desperate face, the letters from her grandfather, and the $250,000 car sitting disguised in a garage. Make the call. Agent Martinez arrived the next morning with a full tactical team, transforming her grandfather's quiet neighborhood into what looked like a crime scene. She was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, who seemed to absorb every detail of her surroundings while barely moving her head. "Tell me about your cousin's gambling habits," she said without preamble. Mia recounted what she knew: poker games, sports betting, trips to Atlantic City that became increasingly frequent over the past 2 years. "My aunt always said he had a problem, but we thought it was just bad luck." Bad luck doesn't create the kind of debts that require muscle. "Your cousin owes money to the Kozlov organization, a Russian-American crime family that operates throughout the Northeast. They've been on our radar for years, but they're extremely careful about evidence." "How much does Jake owe them?" "Based on our surveillance, approximately $400,000. The number made Mia's head spin. $400,000? How is that even possible? Sports betting with borrowed money. They probably started him with small loans at reasonable interest rates, let him win occasionally to keep him hooked, then gradually increased the stakes and the interest until he was in too deep to escape." Agent Martinez showed her photos on a tablet, Jake entering a warehouse in Newark, sitting across from men in expensive suits, signing papers at what looked like a formal meeting. "We've been watching this operation for 18 months. Your cousin became a person of interest 6 weeks ago when he started offering them information about family assets. He's been planning this for 6 weeks? Longer. Look at this." Martinez swiped to surveillance footage from a parking lot. The timestamp showed 3 months ago, just 2 weeks after the grandfather's funeral. Jake was talking animatedly to a man Mia didn't recognize, gesturing with his hands in a way that suggested he was describing something large. He was telling them about the car before Grandpa was even buried. "The Kozlov organization specializes in identifying undervalued assets they can acquire cheaply and resell for massive profits. Classic cars, artwork, antiques, jewelry. Your cousin provided them with detailed information about your inheritance, including the car's true value and its disguised condition." Martinez explained that the organization had been planning to pressure Mia into selling the car to them for a fraction of its worth, then auction it through legitimate channels for the full value. "It's actually quite clever. They're not stealing the car technically, they're just manipulating the owner into a terrible deal. But I didn't sell it to them. Which is why they escalated to threats. These people don't accept no for an answer." The plan that emerged over the next several hours was elaborate and dangerous. Martinez wanted to use Mia as bait to draw the organization into making moves that could be recorded and used as evidence. The car would become the centerpiece of a sting operation. "We'll wire you for sound and have surveillance teams positioned around the meeting location. When they make explicit threats or admit to money laundering, we'll have them on federal charges." "What about Jake?" "Your cousin will be arrested along with everyone else. I'm sorry, but he's been working with them for months. At this point, he's an accomplice, not just a victim." Mia spent the afternoon at a federal facility being briefed by agents who specialized in undercover operations. They taught her how to wear a hidden microphone, how to steer conversations toward incriminating topics, and most importantly, how to recognize when a situation was turning dangerous. If anyone mentions taking you somewhere else, if they ask you to get in a car, or if they start talking about your family members specifically, you give the distress signal immediately, Agent Martinez emphasized. "We'll be monitoring everything, but your safety is the priority." That evening, Jake called. His voice sounded strained, exhausted. "Mia, we need to meet. Tonight." "They're getting impatient, and things are about to get really bad if we don't resolve this." "Where?" "Paulson's Diner on Route 9. Neutral ground. Just you and me." But when Mia arrived at the diner, Jake wasn't alone. 2 men in dark suits sat in the booth behind him, and she recognized one from the surveillance photos Agent Martinez had shown her. Alexei Kozlov, the organization's enforcer, had the kind of pale, cold eyes that seemed to catalog every potential weakness in the people around him. Mia slid into the booth across from Jake, acutely aware of the recording device hidden in her jacket collar. "I thought you said just us." "Plans changed. Mia, meet Alexei and Dmitri. They're the people I've been telling you about." Alexei leaned forward slightly. "Ms. Torres, Your cousin has told us much about you and your inheritance. We understand you have come into possession of a vintage automobile. I inherited a broken-down car, if that's what you mean. Please, let us not waste time with pretense. We know exactly what vehicle you possess and its current market value. We are prepared to offer you $30,000 for immediate transfer of ownership, $30,000 for a $250,000 car. Mia forced herself to look confused rather than outraged. I don't understand. Jake said it was worth maybe a few $100s. Dmitri spoke for the first time, his accent thicker than Alexei's. Your cousin perhaps did not wish to complicate matters with unnecessary details. The offer is generous for quick resolution. What happens if I don't want to sell? The temperature at the table seemed to drop 10 degrees. Alexei's smile never reached his eyes. That would be an unfortunate choice. Your cousin owes us substantial sum of money. We have been patient, but patience has limits. How much does he owe you? $412,000, including accumulated interest. Jake looked sick. It wasn't supposed to be that much. You said the interest was 10%. 10% monthly, compounding, Alexei corrected smoothly. Perhaps you misunderstood terms. Mia realized she was watching a master manipulator at work. These men had probably designed Jake's debt to grow beyond any possibility of normal repayment, specifically so they could demand alternative compensation. If I sell you the car for $30,000, that still leaves over $380,000 outstanding, she pointed out. Indeed. However, we would consider debt satisfied in full. We value family cooperation. And if I don't cooperate? Dmitri placed a manila envelope on the table. Inside were photographs. Mia leaving her apartment, her Aunt Carol at the grocery store, even images of her at work with her third-grade students clearly visible in the background. We believe strongly in importance of family, Alexei said quietly. Sometimes family members must make sacrifices to protect each other. Are you threatening my family? We are presenting options. Cooperation brings benefits for everyone. Lack of cooperation creates difficulties. Jake reached across the table, his hand trembling slightly. Mia, please, just sign the papers. I'll make this up to you somehow. With what money, Jake? You're $400,000 in debt. I'll figure something out. I always do. Alexei pulled out a tablet and showed her a contract already prepared with her name and the car's details. All quite legal and proper. Barrett-Jackson Auction House has even provided authentication of vehicle's value for our insurance purposes. Mia's blood went cold. Barrett-Jackson authenticated it for you? We conduct thorough research on all acquisitions. Your appraiser, Mr. Chen, was quite helpful in confirming vehicle specifications. The implication was clear. These people had resources everywhere, including inside legitimate businesses. If they could reach Barrett-Jackson's appraisal staff, nowhere was safe. I need time to think about this. Unfortunately, time is luxury we cannot afford. Your cousin's debt becomes significantly more expensive at midnight tonight. After that point, alternative collection methods become necessary. Dmitri opened his jacket just enough to reveal a shoulder holster. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. How do I know you'll actually honor the deal? That you won't come after my family anyway? Alexei's expression became almost offended. Ms. Torres, we are businessmen, not common criminals. When debt is satisfied, relationship ends. We have no interest in continued contact with your family. Unless, of course, someone creates new obligations, Dmitri added, with a meaningful look at Jake. Mia realized they were giving Jake a way out while simultaneously ensuring his continued dependence. Even if this debt was cleared, they'd find ways to get him gambling again, borrowing again, until he was permanently trapped in their system. I want to see the car one more time before I decide, she said. Make sure it's really worth what you're offering. Alexei nodded approvingly. Prudent. We will accompany you to verify condition and complete transaction tonight. As they prepared to leave the diner, Mia caught Jake's eye. For a moment, she saw not the desperate gambler who'd betrayed his family, but the cousin who'd protected her from playground bullies 20 years ago. That person was still in there somewhere, buried under months of fear and bad decisions. Jake, she said quietly, when this is over, you need help. Real help. He nodded, unable to meet her gaze. I know. I'm sorry, Mia, for all of it. Outside, 3 black SUVs waited in the parking lot. Mia climbed into the middle vehicle, flanked by Alexei and Dmitri, while Jake rode in the lead car. As they drove toward her grandfather's house, she touched the recording device hidden in her collar and hoped Agent Martinez's team was ready for what was about to happen. The convoy of black SUVs pulled into her grandfather's driveway with military precision. Mia noticed movement in the shadows of neighboring houses and hoped it was Agent Martinez's surveillance team, not more of Alexei's people. The garage looked exactly as she'd left it, the disguised Camaro sitting innocuously under the harsh fluorescent lights. Alexei walked around the vehicle with the practiced eye of someone who'd evaluated countless stolen goods. He ran his fingers along the fake rust patches, nodding approvingly at the craftsmanship. Excellent concealment work. Your grandfather was a clever man. He was trying to protect it from people like you. Perhaps. Or perhaps he was protecting it from insurance investigators. Alexei's smile was razor-sharp. We know about the flood damage claim, Miss Torres. $25,000 collected for vehicle that was never damaged. Technically, this automobile belongs to insurance company. Mia felt the walls closing in. Even if she refused to sell, they could report the insurance fraud and have the car seized by authorities. Her grandfather's deception had given them another weapon to use against her. Dmitri had produced a portable scanner and was checking the VIN numbers, cross-referencing them with databases on his tablet. Confirmed. Numbers matching 1967Z/28 with Rally Sport Package. Current auction estimates range from $200,000 to $275,000. And we are offering $30,000, Alexei said. Quite generous, considering legal complications surrounding ownership. Jake stood near the garage entrance, looking like he wanted to disappear into the concrete floor. Mia, please, just sign the papers and this nightmare ends. For you, maybe. What about the next person they target? What about the next family they destroy? Alexei's patience was clearly wearing thin. Miss Torres, you seem to labor under misapprehension that you have choices here. You do not. Your cousin owes money he cannot repay. Your vehicle represents solution to this problem. Alternative solutions would be unpleasant. Unpleasant how? Dmitri opened a leather portfolio containing photographs that made Mia's stomach lurch. Images of people who'd apparently crossed the Kozlov organization, their faces bearing evidence of severe beatings. These individuals also believed they had choices, he said conversationally. You're making explicit threats now, Mia said, speaking clearly toward her hidden microphone. You're threatening violence against me and my family if I don't sell you my property for a fraction of its value. We are discussing business realities, Alexei corrected. Sometimes reality is unpleasant. And if I cooperate, you guarantee my family's safety? Cooperation ensures mutual benefit. Lack of cooperation creates problems that require solutions. Mia looked around the garage, remembering her grandfather's tools, his careful restoration work, the love he'd poured into preserving something beautiful while protecting his family from predators exactly like these men. I need to know one thing. How did you really find out about the car? Jake's face crumpled. Mia, don't. Answer me, Jake. How long have you been working with them? Alexei gestured for Jake to respond. Tell her. Honesty is important in business relationships. 2 years, Jake whispered. I've been feeding them information about family assets for 2 years. Every Sunday dinner, every family gathering, I was cataloging what everyone owned, what they were worth. The boat that Grandpa sold, you told them about that too. They were going to break my legs. I had to give them something. Mia felt sick. Every family celebration, every holiday gathering, Jake had been mentally pricing their possessions for criminal buyers. What else did you tell them? Everything. Aunt Carol's jewelry collection. Uncle Mike's coin collection. Your savings account information. My savings account? Alexei consulted his tablet. 47,000. $632 as of yesterday. We considered that as partial payment, but decided vehicle was more valuable. The casual mention of her private financial information was chilling. These people had been planning to rob her family systematically, using Jake as their inside source. The inheritance was just the biggest score, Jake continued miserably. When Grandpa died and left you the car, they started planning immediately. The appraisal, the research, everything. They knew exactly what it was worth before you did. Dimitri pulled out a contract and set it on her grandfather's workbench. Enough conversation. Sign papers now, or we proceed with alternative collection methods. Alternative methods meaning what, exactly? Your cousin suffers consequences of his choices. Your family learns cost of non-cooperation. Vehicle is acquired through other means. Mia picked up the pen, her hand trembling slightly. She looked at Jake one last time, seeing him clearly for what he'd become. A broken man who'd sold out everyone he claimed to love. "I'm sorry," she said, and for a moment, Jake looked hopeful. Then she threw the pen across the garage and stepped backward. "But I'm not signing anything." Alexei's facade of civility evaporated instantly. "You make serious mistake." "The only mistake I made was trusting family." Dimitri moved toward her, but stopped when the garage suddenly flooded with brilliant white light. FBI tactical teams poured in from 3 directions, automatic weapons trained on the criminals. "Federal agents, nobody move!" Agent Martinez appeared behind the tactical officers, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Alexei Kozlov, Dmitry Volkov, you're under arrest for extortion, money laundering, and threatening a federal witness." Alexei raised his hands slowly, his face a mask of cold fury. "You cannot prove anything. This was business negotiation. We have 2 hours of recorded conversation, including explicit threats of violence and admission of money laundering activities." Martinez gestured to Mia. "Our witness wore a wire to document everything you said." Jake looked confused and betrayed. "Mia, what did you do?" "What Grandpa should have done 2 years ago. I went to the authorities." The arrests took 45 minutes. Alexei and Dmitri were led away in federal custody, along with the drivers of the other SUVs and several associates who'd been monitoring the neighborhood. Jake was handcuffed separately, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "What happens to him?" Mia asked Agent Martinez. "Cooperation with federal prosecutors might reduce his sentence. These organizations rely on inside information from people like your cousin. If he testifies truthfully about their operations, he might avoid serious prison time." "And the car?" "That's more complicated. The insurance fraud your grandfather committed creates legal issues. The insurance company might have a claim on the vehicle." David Chen, who'd been waiting outside during the arrests, approached with documents in hand. "Actually, I've been researching that. The insurance company was informed about the fraud claim 15 years ago by an anonymous tip. They investigated, determined the car had been deliberately concealed rather than destroyed, but decided not to pursue recovery because your grandfather had already repaid the claim with interest. Grandpa paid them back. Every penny, plus penalties. Look." David showed her bank records from her grandfather's estate files. He'd been making payments for years, trying to make right what he'd done wrong. "The car is legally yours, free and clear." 6 months later, Mia stood in the Barrett-Jackson auction house in Scottsdale, watching her grandfather's Camaro roll across the stage in its fully restored glory. The fake rust and primer had been carefully removed, revealing the stunning marina blue paint underneath. The engine purred like a contented cat, and the chrome gleamed under the auction lights. The bidding started at $50,000 and climbed rapidly. Serious collectors recognized the car's rarity and condition. When the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was $320,000. After taxes, fees, and Barrett-Jackson's commission, Mia walked away with enough money to pay off her student loans, buy a house, and establish a college fund for future children. She kept her grandfather's letters and one small piece of the original fake rust, mounted in a frame as a reminder that things aren't always what they appear to be. Jake received 3 years in federal prison after cooperating with prosecutors to dismantle the Kozlov organization's operations throughout the Northeast. Dozens of victims came forward with stories similar to Mia's, and the investigation uncovered millions of dollars in fraudulent transactions. During his sentencing hearing, Jake finally looked directly at Mia for the first time since his arrest. "I destroyed everything good in my life," he said. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm grateful you stopped me before I destroyed yours too." Agent Martinez later told her that Jake's testimony had been instrumental in convicting higher-level members of the organization. He was genuinely remorseful. Prison might actually help him get clean and rebuild his life. Mia visited her grandfather's grave the day after the auction, bringing flowers and a photo of the Camaro in its full restored glory. "You protected us after all, Grandpa," she said to the headstone, "even from family." The insurance money he'd fraudulently claimed had bought them 2 years of safety from the Kozlov organization. The car he'd preserved in secret had provided justice and financial security. Even his letters, hidden but not destroyed, had given her the strength to make the right choice when faced with Jake's betrayal. She learned that love sometimes means making difficult decisions to protect the people you care about, even when they can't understand or appreciate those decisions at the time. Her grandfather had carried the weight of his deception alone, paying for his sins in installments while safeguarding his family's future. The garage stood empty now, sold along with the house. But sometimes Mia drove past it on weekends, remembering the sound of tools on metal and the smell of motor oil and determination. Some inheritances are worth more than money. Some family legacies are worth preserving, no matter how well they're disguised. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.